Hello, everybody, and welcome in to this edition of the Muses. We have missed you. We are excited to connect with you guys again. We're going to have fun today. We've been laughing and just enjoying ourselves the last 15 minutes. So sorry we popped on just a minute or two later than usual, but it's all good. I'm Katie Steinle, and I've got my fellow beautiful goddesses here, Stephanie Victoria with the Akashic Kitchen, Cat Bendure with Cat Bendure Communications, and Chris Alyssia with Ascended Warrior. And today we thought it would be interesting to throw out the topic of relationships. Woo, that's a loaded one, right? It means so many different things to, each and every one of us. But let's bring spirit into the conversation and see if we can up level the way that we look at relationships, the way that we navigate our relationships, and see if we can spend this next hour, really getting some tips and tools and personal stories of, what we've done in our life to, and what we've learned, from our relationships. I will start off by saying, I always, look at things through the lens of human design. And with human design, my focus with people is really to ground them into their purpose and in the reason for being, and give you some meaning and some clarity on why you're here and like what we're all doing, right? And so there's the term that we look at in human design, and it's your incarnation cross. And it's basically your conscious and unconscious imprinting of the sun and the earth, which compromises 70% of who you are. And in that particular frequency that you came here to really shine bright and illuminate out to the world, there are 4 quarters that your cross, if you will, your life's work can fall in. And so it's going to be tied into your dharma, your karma, and bringing in all kinds of juicy fun stuff. Well, mine happens to be in the quarter. It's called the quarter of duality, but it's relationships. And so I personally, have realized that all of my major life lessons that I have, learned for better or for worse, have played out through my relationships. For some people, theirs might play out in more of a mutative transformative, type of role. Or some people are here to really create and, navigate life and lessons through their mind. There's 4 different major quarters, but so yeah, I can just say it's gotten to the point now when, stuff happens with a relationship of mine. I kind of just have to sit back in the passenger seat, and instead of getting so emotionally and personally triggered and involved, and kind of approach it like, okay, what's the lesson here? I this isn't happening by mistake. So that's kind of, when I first start to think of relationships, like what comes up for me. I'd love to hear from you guys. What's coming in for your field? From your field, I should say.
Yeah, so for me, it always, just like you love human design, and that really shapes a lot of context for you. Mine is the same with life between lies. So when I look at the people around me and the relationships, it's almost like watching a play.
Yeah.
Every person in my world has a role, and it's been practiced before we came into this life, and they're just enacting that role. It doesn't actually say anything about their soul or who they are. We've all come down to support each other, to grow, to play out these massive soul missions together. So even especially in the times when I'm having negative impact or negative emotions around a relationship, I try to step back and say, okay, as a soul, what role are they playing in this story for me? Because it really is an act of service that we come down and do this for each other, not just humans, but non-humans as well. So whenever I think of relationships, especially past ones, I look at them from that lens. Where does this fit into the soul story that I've created for this life?
I just love that because really ultimately, I think relationships are our greatest teacher, right? Everybody that we interact with is really mirroring back to us an aspect of ourselves. And that's
Absolutely.
probably, like you said, Chris, maybe something that, has been predetermined or talked about, and it is interesting when you start to look at the people that are moving in and out of your life from that perspective of, like there's a reason that they're here, even if it's a crappy one.
Yeah, because even if it feels crappy, it's still a divine gift that they're giving you by enacting that. They're coming in to give you an opportunity of some way, shape, or form. And I definitely look at my past relationships, especially the more traumatic ones, and in that light. It takes the sting away. It doesn't stop me from learning the lesson. In fact, I think it gives me a little bit more nuance into like an abusive mother. Well, that's just on the surface. What's underneath that? What could be playing behind that I need to learn from? So I just love looking at it this way. It's like it makes life a giant puzzle to me.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah. That's a cool way to look at it.
Yeah, I would be coming at that from exactly the same uh, the channel that Chris is. Uh, what I like to focus on is same thing, really, or I don't know, how would I say it? I think that it's important to look at the difference between what our society, what our culture teaches us with regard to relationship, whether it's friendship or romantic relationship, marriage, that sort of thing. There's something good to look at, like what is the message we're getting and what really is the truth of it, because they never match.
Mm.
Um, and I think particularly with regard to romantic relationship or marriage, any of that, it can become really muddy up here as far as kind of what are our expectations versus our intentions. What do we think about it? What do we feel about it? To feel about it in the space of what we think about it. What purpose does it serve? Who are we looking for? And when I say that, I guess what I mean is like, are you looking for a partner for the journey of soul growth, of challenge, of polarity on this plane, and understanding that that's what it is, and working with your partner in that space? Or are you looking for somebody to come fucking save you? Excuse me. On a white horse. And I think so many of us are engaged in the latter. And that's such a lie in every way, even if nobody was just going to come save you. But like even the idea that that it will be easy, that anything about this journey will just be all ease and flowers and tiptoeing through the tulips. Like a relationship is the space, especially marital relationship, a partner relationship, a romantic relationship is the space where we do our deepest personal work. And without that understanding, you're going to be disappointed and confused.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And you said quite a few things there that really caught my attention. It's when you look at it that way, you kind of break down relationships. One, you don't need anybody to be complete. That's not exactly how a soul works. Nobody's going to make your life happier. You might be happy, but it's a complete, that looking for the external in order to be happy is something that we're taught to do. We're told you have to find your significant other. You have to find your other half, your twin soul, your twin flame, your soulmate. You have to have children because then you'll know happiness. Then you'll know love. It's such a wonderful cultural trick that we really had ingrained in us from the beginning. When the hardest person to love and find acceptance with is probably ourselves. It's probably the most important relationship we will have, period. and all the rest are just there to create opportunities and to move pieces around. So it's just very interesting when you look at it that way. It really is a shift from the way that we have been raised to believe that we really need this outside person to validate who we are and to make life easier. I don't know any relationships that have made life easier. They definitely are more interesting. Life is not boring in a relationship.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say they're more peaceful.
Right, right. I mean, some make your life, obviously more enriched and more fun. But yeah, I mean, my greatest teachers have been my most challenging relationships. And you're right, both of you guys. I think at the core of it all is, where are we finding value? Where are we finding our worth? Are we, filling ourselves up, our cup up from within, to the point where we're not looking for missing pieces of us outside of ourselves, and other people. And, for me, like, and having a open identity center in, my design, I naturally am wired that way. I'm open. I take in other people's energy. And when I am around people that have definition in that area, I notice that. I'm like, wow, they're so like dialed in. Like they've got this, this is who I am and this is what I'm putting out to the world. And I don't have that, and then I get like that anxiety, and I turn my judgment inward of like what's missing in me, but I've learned over the years that to see the gift in that, to see the gift of having the fluidity of trying different roles and learning about different aspects, from different people, and then incorporating that all in, to finally, build myself up to the point of, this is who I am, and I'm okay being maybe a different person, week to week, year to year, like, just exploring that in a higher perspective way, instead of, getting into that judgment of why don't I have myself all figured out? I think
I don't know many people that would be able.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't know many people that would be able to own, I know who I am, I love who I am, with no caveats at all.
Yeah.
Maybe in a good moment, maybe in a good day.
In a good moment. I mean, it's either true or it's not true, whether you're in a good moment or not. And I can't think of anybody. Yeah. You said you don't know many people. Do you know anybody? I'm dying to know. I want to meet them.
Well, I have moments.
My husband's like that. He's like, this is who I am. He's very identified with his, what he does, professionally. And, like if you, try to knock him off center, for the most part, I mean, yeah, sure. There's things you would work on and change, but like identity wise, like, yeah, I do know certain people that at least.
But part of that identity isn't just, do you know who you are? And it's also, who are you, not your work, because those are not the same thing, right? And then it's also, do I love who I am? And I think that's the piece, because I know who I am. Do I love all of who I am? I'm working on it. I think that's the piece that's the hardest one for most of us.
Sure.
Is the, like, and once upon a time, I'm just thinking, I could have, there were times in my life when I probably would have had an easier time telling you who I am, and career definitely would have been a part of it. Mm-hmm. And I, with the benefit of hindsight, would look back at that now and say, yeah, I probably would have had an easier time addressing the question then, and I can tell you for certain, I did not know who I was. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like it's when we get out of all the labels and all the external things that the who are you really can be, and that's where the real work, I feel like, of the, do I love myself? What do I love? What don't I love? Why? How? What do I do with that? How do I address the things that are uncomfortable and come to love that part that maybe I don't love, you know, if that
Well
makes
said,
sense.
Stephanie. Yeah, that's so true. Because really, I mean, like at our core frequency, we are the same, we are love, right? Like that is the core of who we are. And then the rest of it is just layers of conditioning. You build up your first 20 years or whatever, and then you spend the rest of your life trying to peel it all off.
Yeah,
So I love what you said, Kat. That's so true.
that's so true. What you just said. We spend the first 20 years developing who we are, and the rest of our lives trying to peel it all off. Uh, yeah, the people divinely constructed and beautiful in all the ways, even when it's challenging. And having said that, also true that the people who we come in here to be, sort of raised by, do a phenomenal job of ensuring that we are removed from the tool set that is necessary to succeed here in our present state.
Yeah. Yeah. I just finished reading this book about this doctor that was, total anesthesiologist, science 100%. And he ends up having a near-death experience on the operating table. And, it obviously shifted everything in him. And he was saying that, shoot, I just lost where I was going with this. What were you talking about, Kat?
The people who raise us, removing us
Oh,
from.
right. Yeah, like he ends up in the near-death experience. He goes back, his father shows up of all people, and it's the person that was the most traumatic, in his actual life. And it was just interesting, this conversation that plays out between him and his father now realizing, like he was just doing the best that he could at the time with the tools that he had, and it's like just this weird thing that just it's like a lineage, ancestral trauma that tends to just get passed on and passed on. And he's basically now apologizing and wanting him to break that cycle. And he realized he was doing the same thing with his own son. He was projecting onto his son what he wanted. You need to be a doctor, that is what you will do. And not listening. If we just stepped back sometimes and treated, I think, the children like the unique humans that they are, and ask them, like, what do you want, instead of going, no, you do it this way, this is the way we do it. It would change everything.
Yeah, that's one of the things human design is so beautiful for. I love that about what you do, being able to bring that clarity about kind of who somebody is, what their literal energetic personality, the whole like the makeup of how they work. And to be able to have that information and work with it from the time somebody arrives here as a child is nothing short of life changing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for recognizing that, because I completely agree. Like the founder of human design said that. He said, really, this is a system that is meant to be, used and applied with the future generations, because it would change the world. Think about it. If we all just showed up and said, we are all unique and we bring specific gifts and strengths and talents to the table. And instead of trying to squash that and make everybody the exact same, and then you've got the competitiveness that comes in, right? Because everybody's the same. So now it's like, I have to cut you off at the knees because, otherwise I'm not going to be able to shine. If we just collaborated and brought, our strengths together, and we were empowered in our strengths, right? Instead of going, oh God, I don't want to talk about that because that's going to make me different. And then people are going to think I'm weird, and then yada, yada, yada. Oh gosh, wouldn't that just change everything?
Yeah, it really does. I mean, I think it's super valuable to recognize the value in being able to have the information about somebody you're in relationship with, being able to have a relationship about a child who you're involved in the raising of, or part of their life, whatever the case may be. But it's also life-changing to understand those things about yourself as well. And I think like something you said just sparked something for me. I don't remember what you said, but it made me think about the I think you said looking for something outside of ourselves, or did you say that? Something
Yeah.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
With regard to relationship, to bring it back, the whole idea that I'm sorry, I'm getting a phone call and it's distracting. Popped on the screen. The whole idea that your partner can provide anything for you.
Mm-hmm.
Literally provide anything for you. Outside of the 3D, other than, we provide for each other financially, that sort of thing. But like maybe you go to the grocery store, you provide a little bread. But the idea that they can provide what you need spiritually, emotionally, is absurd. And I think most of us think that isn't absurd. I think there are a lot of people out there looking for their partner to provide something in their life that they don't realize that they can not only but can only provide for themselves.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. And I'm sharing this video on the side and looking through all the veteran groups that I'm a part of. And all of them say, depression, PTSD, healing. So much of that is related to exactly what we're talking about. It's this belief that you're lacking something that can only be found externally. And the depression that comes from just feeling it, I guarantee I felt it in my life multiple times, and I'm sure everybody else has, that just feeling of being lost because whatever you're being told you're supposed to find in your life just isn't there. And you're like, why don't I have what they're saying I need to be happy? Why am I alone in this? There's nobody to turn to. There's no that ideal that we need somebody else, that happiness is coming only from this very clear, from whatever culture has told us that we need, is leading to the depression. It's leading to the anger. It's leading to the frustration, the lack of empathy that we have for each other, because we're not seeing each other as each divine beings. The children, the parents, every race, every ethnicity, every religion, that's a divine soul. The skin, this is just a distraction. It really is. It's a trick. Look past that and see not only other people for what they are, but for yourself as well. You're going to stumble, you're going to fall, you're going to feel all those things. That's why you're here. But take a step back. Like Katie said, take a step back and really recognize what you are. Not who you are, what you are. You're a divine being. And I would 100% do exactly what you did, Kat, at least even 5 years ago. Every description of myself was going to be based on my career. And if someone asked me today, it's going to be a much more complicated answer. But I could also just say I'm a divine being and see how they take it.
I was just thinking it's a much more simple answer, right? Yeah. You start peeling off all the labels.
It's just amazing. Like just looking at the groups I'm posting it to, I can feel the angst that's going on in the world. And it really boils down to what we're talking about. I'm not trying to oversimplify it, but
no, it is. It is that I think it's valuable to say this too. I think that the most elevated expression of something is the simplest expression of it. You cannot speak about anything simply until you know it deeply. That is a fact. It's that ability to boil it down into something simple comes from a level of familiarity that is extraordinary, out of the ordinary. Challenge, I like to talk about in the state of relationship as well. I think most of us at this point have become familiar with the idea that challenge in our lives is an opportunity, right? Is an opportunity to dig in and learn something about yourself. The what is that saying? The something get going
when the times get tough, the tough get going.
Yeah, something like that. That kind of idea. The idea of find out who you really are, right? Get to see who other people really are. That's that whole idea. Um, but I think a lot of us don't look at that with the same potentially positive lens in our relationships as we do in the other areas of our life. We are a culture of divorce, really, a culture of me. And when the truly tough stuff presents, oh, we must not be meant to walk this journey any further together. And one of the things that I've learned that I think is just so invaluable is that stuff, as Chris so beautifully pointed out, is stuff we've agreed to do with our partners before we ever even got here. It's why we recognized them when we met them, because there was something that was set up before we got here. The whole love at first sight, the whole all that infatuation and that feeling, and that I love this person. I know who they are. This is my person, kind of thing. We recognize them because we set up things that live here so that we can recognize them. And then when the really good stuff shows up, the tough stuff shows up, and we don't know how to deal with it, we're on to the next thing oftentimes. And this plane is set up for experience. So when we make that kind of a choice, what we're choosing is to do the exact same thing again with somebody else, because you will be involved in what you came here to do, whether it's with partner A or B or C or D or F or X, or you could just avoid. But the question is, do you want to dig into it with the person that you're with and get on the same page and get from where you are to where you want to be together, or do you want to start over again and learn it with the next person? And I think
it's very much like a relay race too, and that's not the right analogy, but our lives, they're helping us learn these lessons faster than we could possibly learn them on our own. Is that we need those relationships, those interactions, in order to learn empathy and patience and self. It's almost like they grab your hand and they help pull you forward, and there's just a line of people there grabbing you and helping you move forward. It doesn't always feel good.
No, it doesn't always feel good. And I would argue not that we can learn them faster with somebody else, but that we cannot learn them without somebody else. Because the stuff that comes up in significant relationship is usually stuff that was developed in our childhood. That's deep stuff that people in our outer sphere don't often ever see. That unless somebody comes into your inner sphere, isn't even going to get activated oftentimes. And it's within those activations, those periods of charge, you could call them, that stuff sort of shows itself and becomes available to address, to learn something from, to discharge, to master differently.
Yeah, I fully agree. And I've always looked at that isolation element of spirituality. It was always something that I understood when I was learning spirit, that these gurus, these people lived completely alone, and they evolved, they ascended. And something about it just never quite sits right with me. It just never quite settles. Because to separate from the world, to separate from other people, I just don't see how that's the point of coming down here.
Well, I don't think it is. I don't think it is the point of coming down here. I think if you look at history, I always have trouble talking about time. If we assume that it is linear, it's not, right? But if we assume it's linear and you look at history, and you look at kind of different times and what was available in those times, and the purpose, there's always purpose, right? There's a spiral of time really that exists. It isn't linear. All things are happening at the same time, all the time, for purpose, to develop something that we're all moving toward, is how I look at it. And when you look at it that way, there are going to be times in that spiral that it made sense, or that it had positive impact, that it moved the needle in a significant way for the development of what needed to be developed in that time frame, or what was coming, what was available then, and what was coming next. And I look at it that way with regard to what you're talking about. I think that there have been times when great masters have come down to come to the plane, to this side of the veil, to channel information and share and show. And it was less probably about their specific journey here than it was about what they provided for everybody else. I think that we do all participate, not all of us, but if you look at the whole spectrum of what's here, there are beings who are coming in as plant matter, plant beings, and all manner of different animals. Like you could be a human animal, or a canine animal, or feline animal, or an aquatic animal, whatever. All those categories. You can be a master who's completed your cycles and you're coming here on a volunteer basis to contribute. You can be somebody who's brand new soul and everywhere in the middle, right? So that's what I think of when you say what you said.
Oh, absolutely. And I wanted to bring up this comment. I was reading it on the side. And it's something that we always tell people, don't get into a relationship until you're ready. But what we're talking about from a soul journey is actually the opposite of that. It's saying those relationships will help you become the person that you need to be, to accept others on a soul level, to accept yourself on a soul level. Each of those, even the turbulent ones, are teaching us something. So I totally get what they're saying. It's just a little reframing, because definitely the negative relationships I've had have been the most important ones that I've had to go through.
Right.
It was embarrassing, but I'm glad I went through it.
And I would say that statement is true. I would modify it a teeny bit. Instead of you shouldn't be in a relationship, you can't be in a healthy relationship with anyone, is what I would say, until you've learned to accept people where they are from a consciousness level, and you choose the right people, and there would be probably who knows many other caveats. But we don't come here to be in this experiential plane, in this unified energy, which we all exist, to do it alone.
Absolutely.
That comment brings up this, I don't know, he was a motivational spiritual, I think he was a preacher. And I was listening one time he was talking, and he was from the South. And so he said, sometimes you might have a gallon bucket capacity, for whatever, love, whatever. But the person that you're in relationship with, they might have a tiny bucket. And even though, they're full, their bucket's full, it's only a quarter gallon bucket. So it's like, you have to look at everybody as like, what is their capacity, because it goes back to that doctor story, where, on the other side, when he had this, kind of epiphany, it was like, everybody is showing up for the most part, doing the best they can in any given moment, and it looks so different for other people. And I think that's where sometimes judgment comes in, and that projection of, why can't you, be up at my speed or see it the way I see it, instead of just, accepting people where they're at consciously, or gallon bucket size.
That's a really good point. I would argue also that we probably actually can't figure out where other people are until we know ourselves. We're not going to be able to assess anything outside ourselves accurately if we don't know accurately what lives here, and haven't mastered to some level what's possible here. We do it in relationship, right? We do it in community, and all the ways one can have a relationship. It doesn't have to look the same way for anybody. But in whatever way, we're in community and or partnership, moving through that space. I'm just kind of on at the moment. I'm sorry. It's such a big journey. I mean, it really is. It's such a, I want to swear again. It's such a mind, I'll say, to potty mouth over here, I'll own it, to to come here with the illusion of separation, and what reality is, that I would argue most of the things that any of us think are reality are not, and at any given moment, and the stories we're told and the stories we're telling ourselves without ever even realizing a story developed, like,
Oh gosh, yeah.
to get to who is this really in this space of all of that, and be able to do it well, and be able to really love oneself, all the parts of oneself, is so powerful. It creates an entirely different reality. I mean, talk about relationship with self. This is a story that I think is so cool. I remember watching, I don't remember when it was, but I remember watching Oprah Winfrey show, and she was talking about a good friend of hers who was dying with multiple sclerosis from, I think it was MS. She had it for a long time. It had progressed. She was in a wheelchair, and she had been told by her doctors that it would probably be a good idea to start getting her affairs in order, kind of thing. And she decided that she wanted to experience unconditional love before she left the planet. And the way that she decided to do that was with and of herself. And I remember her, the story being told that she started with her eyebrows, and she would look in the mirror every day and talk to herself about how much she loved her eyebrows, how beautiful they were, how they had served her. Just really focus on each little thing that she could see in the mirror, and moved down her entire body, and kept the focus on that one thing until she really felt it, really felt the gratitude, the appreciation, and the love for that part of herself. And by the time she was done, she no longer had a mess. What is that?
Beautiful.
I mean, I'm still floored by that. I think about that story probably at least once a week, and I don't even know how long ago it was that I heard that. I have no idea.
What is the function of an eyebrow?
I think that it helps to keep things from going in your eye, especially if you have big bushy ones.
Right, like caterpillar ones. Or like the unibrow. That's like wearing a visor.
I was just saying, it was really enormous. It could shield you from the sun. Sweat dripping in your eyes, I'm sure.
Yeah. Wow, good job.
I don't know. That's all I've got so far.
That was good. That was good. Yeah.
But I love that. And Louise, I love Louise May Hay. She has the same mentality. Her morning gratitude meditations, and it's just going through different things. I love the breath. Thank you for the breath. And she goes through the whole body. Thank you to my feet for holding me up throughout the day. Thank you for my neck for holding my head and allowing me movement. It really does change the way that you think about yourself and feel about yourself.
And to know that, I think so, like, let's look at that both ways in case it hasn't occurred to anybody. To know that when you truly love yourself, and you would, in that exercise, where you like put yourself in that woman's shoes, I'm dying, I'm leaving, no holds barred. There's nothing more important that I'm invested in. Like, with that kind of incentive, you engage in a different way, right? And so when you come to truly love all of you, it heals you. Just it heals you. Flip side of that, all of the maladies that so many experience, like, we're creating that also, right? So how important is that relationship? We're talking about relationship with others, but really what we should be talking about, or what I want to, I guess where I'm headed with this, is like relationship with self is really all there is. Because if we're creating our physical health, or lack thereof, if our stories are creating our perceptions, if our thoughts are creating our physical body, then we also, how we interact with ourselves, how well we know ourselves, whether or not we love each other, whether we are showing up and being the love or whether we're looking for the love, that actually creates our relationship as well. We can completely and totally change our relationship, alter our relationship, have our relationship become truly rewarding in amazing ways by doing nothing at all to address our partner.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like that should be pretty easy. Take some of the stress off. But you're absolutely right, because a trick or a benefit of coming to love yourself is you don't feel the need to try to change other people. It just kind of goes away. And I have moments of that, and I have moments when I fall back. But you're like, I love myself. Why? I don't. You're what you're doing doesn't reflect on me at all.
And I was just that made me think of another perspective to that is giving yourself away and your love away for validation. Like I've realized that instead of, especially as women, I think, that we're taught and brought up to, like share our love, right? Mother, nurture, whatever. But at some point you have to realize that if you're giving it all away and you're empty inside, like if you turn that focus inward and focus on filling yourself up first with that love, and instead of giving it away, you're just merely sharing it. And sometimes you don't even have to say a word, because when you really are, your frequency shifts, right? And I mean, we are, human beings. We have chemistry with each other. And that's why, depending on how you're vibing is what you're going to attract into your world. And so it's just, that's been a huge lifelong lesson that I am working on. And it is interesting, like, Chris, you and I have, kind of, we see it, differently. It just, again, goes to say, we're all so unique, and we all see the world in such a beautiful, individual perspective, that like the three of us could be at the same Starbucks, and we're all going to see different things and notice, different things, and maybe, be attracted to different people. And so, just to remove that judgment and that comparison, that external, like, yeah, I love where you guys are going with that.
I just want to pop a quick 2-second recognition of the guys too, because I think as women, we're really familiar with the ways that we give away our value, that we look for validation, whatnot. And we always say, there's been a history, a well-developed history of, women do it more. I think men do it differently. They show up and give everything that they have to people.
Very true.
And they just do it differently.
Yeah, absolutely. That's part of the whole, females coming into their power. That it's not women versus men. It's the feminine energy standing in its power next to, in balance with, the masculine energy. It doesn't go away. It's not overpowered. They're balanced. They're partners. We have both inside of us.
Yep. Yeah. And I was gonna say, I'm balancing them within us as well. Yeah.
And that's such an important part of loving yourself, is recognizing both sides of that inside of you, and not trying to judge one side versus the other or give prominence to one. It's all you, and it's all divine.
I was just going to say, if anybody out there, I know you were talking about, a lot of people, that are dealing with depression and anxiety and a lot of, really, really major stuff. And if you aren't sure where to start, even with, how do I even start, I would recommend Qigong as an amazing way to start to tune into, the masculine and the feminine, the yin and the yang, that are within us and everywhere in all existence, so I was just going to throw that out.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Some Qigong, Tai Chi, yoga, dance, probably of almost any sort. I mean, what else? Long walks with your dog.
Long walks with your dog.
I really like what Kat said about that woman's exercise that she did. I think that would be a great way to address that feeling of hopelessness and depression, is just look at yourself in the mirror or look at your hands and tell yourself how much you appreciate and love whatever it is at that moment until you start to feel it. When you start to feel love, when you start to let love flow through you more, your capacity for it is going to be bigger. Those walls that you're creating, that sense of isolation, will go away. And it just starts with something as simple as, I love my eyebrows. They
Yeah,
keep sweat from my eyes, which
It's somewhere.
you might have said quite nicely too. What I think is important to mention with mirror work is that it is mirror work. You can look at your hands and tell them how much you love them. But when we look into a mirror and we look into our eyes, it has a very different impact. And sometimes it's hard for people to do.
Tremendously hard.
That's okay. It's how you know, one of the ways in which you know that something is impactful. Is it super easy to step in and do? Or is it a little bit of a challenge, and how, and always with a challenge, you can approach it in steps, but so worth doing.
Absolutely. And I love mantras too. Looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, I love who I am. I am strong. I am not alone. I am loved. You say those things over and over and over again, and it's like they imprint into your body, into your soul, into your spirit. And it really does make a difference when you do these things, even if you just do it for 10 seconds a day, every day.
That reminds me, Tanya always says, money finds me attractive.
Money finds
brilliant.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And I mean, she's in it. She says that, and it has changed. The power of a mantra is real.
Absolutely. It can change your relationship with anything, including relationships.
Yeah.
I do like hers for changing the, bringing in abundance. I think that's pretty brilliant.
Bringing in what?
I love
abundance.
Myself. I am. There's no one else I'd rather be. Because that's the thing. I think when you get down to it, it's like, it's that comparison. It's that judgment. And it stems from that conditioning that we need to start to shift our perspective, to your power lies in your difference. Your power is never going to be from just being the same old, right? So like start to really drill down on that. And then that. I'll tell you, when you can ground into, meaning and matter, at least for me, like that's where that fulfillment, that self-fulfillment starts to come in. And when you do tap into that self-fulfillment, like the love just naturally flows. Like like even if some people might be like, I'm not focused on loving myself, but you can see how you can approach it from different ways. You know what I mean? Like find out what works for you.
Yeah,
totally. I think that's what makes music so powerful. Is you think of music that really touches you, that you want to sing when we're sad, that we want to scream to the rafters when we're having a good day, that we want to dance to. It's that power of repeated messages that we've taken inside of ourselves, and they mean something.
Yeah.
Imagine what this world would be like. The fullness of the expression that would be available here for everybody in all the ways, and to access in all the ways if we all came here and did VR individually. I mean, I wonder what tiny percentage of the planet is actually doing that. I wonder how small it is. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe like I think I read one time, and I found this interesting. I'm like, because I've actually read this a few times, so I'm like, I wonder where they're getting the numbers. Obviously it's an estimate, but that about the capacity right now, about 4% of the world is at a high awareness, awakened state of being. And so anything you can do to raise that percentage is greatly appreciated because it all, it's the butterfly effect, right? One person goes up a notch on the ladder and they lift 10,000 souls, so, even you guys just showing up and watching the show and participating in the conversation today, like, I know, it's definitely impacted me. So I'm going to go out and probably impact 30 people, right? Or, just moving about my day, and then so on and so on and so on.
And I think we circled back around to it. And this comment really brings it home, because we started by talking about relationships as an external love, family. And we really circle back to love of self, turning all of that internal. Instead of switching on, switch in, find out what's going on in here, learn to love yourself. Don't listen to the news and all that crap telling you the world is terrible and everybody's hateful. What's going on here? How does it feel here? Because when you ground into yourself, the rest of that stuff can't shake you the same way.
Yes.
You got to build a solid foundation of self, learn, build this relationship, and everything else will be easier. It's not a relationship with anybody else that's going to open up these magical gateways of happiness for you. It's right here. And I love how we kind of circled through that and came really back to it at the end.
And I just wanted to say something too, because when you brought up music, I will put in the comments a link to this. It's the best compilation of mantra and music that I have bumped into in a very long time. And, like, she's just saying these badass mantras that by themselves, I even might, be a little like, oh, I don't know if I can say that or own that. But then it's cool. Like you said, Chris, like music is such a gift and, a healing modality that it allows you to kind of shift into that right brain of you're tapping into the beat and you're tapping into the music. And then the left brain's picking up on, the mantra and the affirmation. And it's like, it's double powerful, So I would highly recommend checking it out. I'll do it after the show.
I always have a song at any given point that is my go-to song for just what I'm feeling at the moment. Like I had the Cupid's Arrow, Fighter was my song for a while. This Is Me is a big one that anytime I hear, I'll just belt out to the top of my lungs.
Wait, who sings Fighter?
Cupid's Arrow, I think is the name of it. Fighter.
Okay.
Fighter song by Cupid's.
It is funny because you're right. Like every day, I don't know, like
Gym Class Heroes. That's who it is. Gym Class Heroes. They had a song called Cupid, which I thought was hilarious.
Gym Class Heroes. Okay. Yeah, you never know. Maybe somebody listening it'll click with. But yeah, I do the same thing. It's weird. It's like, it seems like every day on any given day, I'm brushing my teeth or, doing something in the morning, and I'll just, like a song comes through and I'm like, where did this even get? It'll be something like I haven't heard in 20 years or something, but you're right. Like, it's kind of like my theme for, the day, what I'm feeling, the mood I'm in, way to really kind of, shed light on like, what lights me up? What do I connect with?
Shift your energy. It's also one of my favorite spiritual games to play when you're tapping into your ability to channel and connect with spirit and kind of get messages. Is you just go to like Radio Shuffle, and whatever song pops up, you just say, whether you want to say it out loud or not, this next song is going to have a message for me. It's going to mean something to me.
Yeah.
And you just shuffle through and it pops up with a song. You're like, damn, all right. Whatever it is, it's something for your spirit at that exact moment. It's something just for you. You're creating that relationship with yourself with that internal message system that we all have.
That's a cool exercise. I'm totally doing that one. Oh my God. I love it. I love it when I'm thinking about something and you guys, it usually has to do with relationships, right? And then you turn on the radio and then that song comes on and you're like, it's like they're talking to me. Oh my God,
Every breakup song, every I'm in love song, every fuck you song. They come to you when you need them.
country song gone bad.
I had a whole playlist when I was going through that crazy stuff with the military, when I was getting the sexual harassment and everything else. I had to pump myself up. I had a playlist just for driving into work, just to
Wow.
pump myself up and get ready. And it was all, female empowerment and like, I got this, screw everybody else. I'm going in there strong. And it was something I had to do. It was my way of doing affirmations at the time, before I got really heavy into the spiritual stuff.
Well,
Paris
that's cool. That's cool. Oh, how great that. Oh, thank you for reminding me. See, I'll tell you, that is a beautiful song. And now that's going to be in my head. Maybe that will be my theme for the rest of the week. I love that song. And I love spending time with you guys. This has been so incredibly fun and enlightening. And see, people, yeah, hopefully you walk away with one or two things that will empower you. And the rodeo never gets old. Okay.
Now it's just songs, song recommendations out there.
No, but it's cool. It's cool. It is. It's like that pathway to, figuring out who you are, what you're about, what lights you up. So yeah, just share this out if you liked it, if you enjoyed it, if you know somebody that it might impact or touch in any way. And we look forward to coming at you next month. Oh, see, Cat's dog's even showing up. Next month at this time, second Wednesday of the month. Please come back and tune in. And until then, love yourself, love your life, and we're all in this together. Bye for now.